Hello students, today I am going to take up the 8th chapter of your business studies, that is controlling. As you have learned about the various functions of management such as planning, organizing, staffing, directing. Now today we are going to take up the last function of management, that is controlling. Now what is controlling? Controlling is defined as that managerial function which seeks to ensure an absolute conformity of actual performance of organizational personnel with the planned actions and brings into light the deviations and undertakes the corrective action. So controlling as a function of management is always a process which includes number of sequential steps, and the first step of controlling is determination of standards against which performance is compared. Next is measuring the actual performance. The third one is comparison of actual performance against the standards. Then next is, after comparing, we locate the deviations, then analyzing the deviations, and the last one is undertaking the corrective or the remedial action in order to bring the performance on the right track. So this was about the meaning of controlling. Coming on to the next subtopic, that is nature of controlling. The nature of controlling is, it is pervasive function because controlling is performed by every manager. It is performed, it is exercised at all the levels of the management, though the nature and extent of control may differ from one level to another. Otherwise, it is a universal function. The control is same in any business organization, like in hospitals, in schools. The controlling is universal function and it is pervasive as well. Next is, it is a continuous process. It is a never-ending process. It's a continuous process, just as a navigator continuously checks the planned action. In the same way, the business manager takes the reading whether his enterprise or department is on the right track or not. So it is a never-ending process or continuous process. Next is backward and forward-looking process. Controlling is a backward process because in control we look back about the actual performance already achieved by the employees and then compare it with the standards. So it's a backward-looking. How it is a forward-looking process? Because in controlling we locate the deviations, then we take the corrective action. So controlling makes sure that the future actions matches the plans. So in this way, controlling is both backward and forward-looking process. Coming on to next, it is action-oriented process because the essence of controlling lies in the corrective action to bridge the gap between the plans and the actual performance. Then the last one is, it is goal-oriented process. Controlling is a goal-oriented process because it is directed towards the accomplishment of organizational objective in a best possible manner. So this was about the nature of controlling. Coming on to next, we have importance of controlling. How controlling is important? First one is, it helps in achieving the organizational goals. Controlling helps or it measures the progress towards the organizational goal and indicates the corrective action. Then the next one is, it helps for formulating or judging the accuracy of standards. A good control system helps the managers or enables the management to verify whether the standards are accurate or not by careful check by careful check on the changes taking place in the business environment. Then the next is making efficient use of resources. By good control system, the manager seeks to reduce the wastage of resources. Then the next is improves employee satisfaction. Because when we have a good control system, the employees are already well aware. They know in advance what they are expected to do and the standards of performance also. So this motivates them to perform in a best possible manner. Then facilitating coordination in action. In controlling, every department and every employee is governed by predetermined standards which are well coordinated with each other. So this coordination gives unity of direction. Then the last one is ensuring order and discipline. When we have control on everything, we have control atmosphere in the organization, there will be discipline and order in all the activities of the enterprise. So this was about the importance, how controlling is important for management or organization. Coming on to next, we have limitations of controlling, because there are some limitations as well, and the first one is difficulty in setting quantitative standards. Controlling loses its effectiveness when the standards of performance are defined in quantitative terms, because this makes comparison very difficult. In the areas like behavior, human behavior, or employees' morale, satisfaction, the comparison becomes difficult because we can't express it in quantitative terms. Next is little control on external forces, because an enterprise can't control everything. They can't control the external sources such as government policies, competition, etc. Then is resistance from employees. Controlling becomes difficult if employees feel that their freedom is restricted. They will resist the controlling function. Then the last one is costly. This controlling requires a lot of time, effort, and amount. A small enterprise cannot afford to install a good control system. Then coming on to next, what is the relation between planning and controlling? Planning and controlling are interdependent on each other because of the various reasons. And the first is planning is prerequisite for controlling. Plans provide the standards for controlling. If the standards are not there, then there is nothing to control. So, planning provides the standards for which the managers can control. Then is planning is meaningless without controlling. Planning is fruitful when controlling exercise, because controlling locates the deviations and takes corrective action. And the effectiveness of planning is measured with the help of controlling. Planning is a forward-looking process and controlling is a backward-looking process. Planning is a forward-looking process because we have studied it in the planning chapter that it is a future-oriented process because it helps in looking ahead and making policies for the maximum utilization of resources in the future. So it is a forward-looking process. But controlling is both forward and backward looking process. How? Because in controlling we look back to the performance already achieved by the employees, then compare it with the standards. So it's a backward process. It's a forward looking process in the sense because after locating the errors, we take corrective actions in order to make sure that the future performance matches the plans. So in this way, it is a forward-looking process. So planning and controlling are inseparable. They support each other for the execution of both the functions. So they go hand in hand. So planning helps in effective controlling and controlling improves planning. So this was about the relationship between planning and controlling. Then coming on to the next, what are the steps involved in the controlling process? Because controlling is a process and it involves number of sequential steps, and the first step is setting performance standards. Standards are the basis or the criteria against which the actual performance is being measured. So it brings into light the corrective actions. So standards become the basis, or with this we can compare the actual performance with the standards. Coming on to the next, we have measurement of actual performance. So performance can be measured in objective and reliable manner by personal observation, sample checking. So performance should be measured in terms in which the standards have been established in order to make the comparison easy. Next is comparing actual performance with standards. So in this step, we compare the actual performance with the standards in order to locate the deviations. When there is no deviation, the actual performance will match the plans. So next is analyzing the deviations. In this step, we analyze the deviation. We assess the deviation, because some of the deviations are expected in most of the activities. So the focus here is on the two things. The first is critical point control and the next is management by exception. This critical point control says there are certain areas which we say they are the key area results which are critical for the success of the organization. If anything goes wrong in this critical point, then the organization will suffer. So the management should focus on these key area points. For example, 5% increase in the labor cost will affect the organization instead of 2% increase in the postal charges. Because here the labor cost in the manufacturing concern is the critical point, is the key area result. Then is management by exception. There is a well-known saying, if you try to control everything, you end up control nothing. So the management should focus on these deviations which will affect the organization. For example, 5 employees out of 100 are not performing well. Then the management should focus on the performance of these 5 employees only, not on these 100 employees, because it will be a sheer wastage of effort, time, money by providing the measures to all these 100 employees. So management here focuses on the exceptional deviations, not on controlling all the deviations against the standards. So this is known as management by exception or control by exception. Then the last one is taking corrective action. After analyzing the deviation, we have to take corrective actions. Corrective actions are needed when there is significant deviation, because some deviations are acceptable. They are within the acceptable range, so there is no need of corrective action. So with this, we have completed the controlling process as well. With this, we have finished the 8th chapter of your business studies. Hope you have understood it. We'll see you in the next video. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.